Fight Mike here. Today I'm going to do full card predictions and breakdown for UFC Apex over the weekend, headlined by Brandon Royval and Manel Kape. It's a decent card. There's not too many big names on the card, but there's some fun matchups. But starting off with the early prelim, we got Jamie Lynn Horth versus Teresa Bleda. Gonna go with Jamie Lynn Horth, and I'm mainly just going because she's gonna out physicality to Teresa Bleda. I know that Teresa's had some good fights against Natalia Silva, and had I know that she lost that fight brutally, but the next fight after that, I can't remember her opponent, but she was able to win, and I think that she's actually a decent prospect for the future. But the thing is that Jamie Lynn Horth is just like that person who's just able to fraud check like newish women's prospects just due to being way stronger than her, than all of them basically. And she's quite physical and she uses that very well to her advantage. And I just don't see Teresa Bleda being able to have the experience to be able to win in like a tough fight against Jamie Lynn Horth. I know that, I was trying to look now, Teresa Bleda, I know that she beat Gabriela Fernandez last time out, but that was also the Gabriela Fernandez of 2023, not the one that beat Wang Kong late 2024. So I think that Jamie Lynn Horth, she's been more active, she's more powerful, and I think she's the better mixed martial artist. Now, moving on to Alan Fryer Jr. versus Guilherme Pat. I'm going to go with Alan Fryer Jr. I'm not super confident in it, but watching his regional fights back, I think I'm just more confident in him being like the more powerful, more imposing, better striker. It's going to be a tough fight for both guys. When you've got two like non-blob heavyweights outside the rankings, it's usually a pretty rough fight between the two of them. And I know one of them's getting finished. I just trust in Alan Fryer Jr. to be the one getting the finish. I think he comes from a little bit of a better gym. He's 27 years old. He's a pretty young guy. He's taller than Guilherme Pat. No, he's not. They have Guilherme Pat as 6'6". I thought he was probably like 6'4". And Alan Fryer Jr., although he's a little bit more pudgy than Guilherme Pat, I just think he's the better fighter out of the two, and I think he's going to get it done by a KO. Moving on, we've got Luana Santos versus Melissa Croden. This is a pretty hard fight to predict just because Melissa Croden looked decent last time out. But Luana Santos has been having better fights than Melissa Croden. I know that Melissa Croden was able to beat Tainara Lisboa, who's a decent-ish fighter. But I think that Luana Santos is going to be able to out-grapple her, out-strike her, and just outdo her to a decision here. Moving on, we've got Sean Sharaf versus Stephen Asplund. I always love seeing Stephen Asplund's build here. I always think that he should be like a middleweight because he's not actually like that big. But I think he's still going to be able to get it done over Sean Sharaf. You're not being beaten by either Tafa Bros and getting picked to win a fight ever again if you lose to a Tafa Bro like Sean Sharaf. And Stephen Asplund, he's quite fast. He's got some decent wins on the regional scene as well. And a guy who just got into the UFC from the Dana White's Contender Series, I believe, was a guy who lost to Stephen Asplund. So he is pretty decent, and even though he's not had too many fights with being 6-1, he's still had he's had better experience, I think, than Sean Sharaf. Moving on, we've got Neil Magny versus Yaroslav Amosov. I'm going to go with Yaroslav Amosov. 28-1. That should be giving you enough to believe that he's going to be able to beat Neil Magny. To lose to Neil Magny, you need to either be like a little bit slow, like Jake Matthews, like not all the shots in the head are firing off it in every night if you're going to lose to Neil Magny, or you got to be having like some sort of real exploitable weakness. Like for Mike Mallet, it was the grappling, and it was just not even the grappling, it was just the heart late into the fight. And when we saw the Brazilian guy that spinning wheel kicked Sean Strickland, that Neil Magny was able to finish by ground and pound TKO not too long ago, Alessio Zaleski dos Santos. Alessio in that fight looked like an older version of himself, but we've got a Yaroslav Amosov, although he's a little bit older, 28-1. He's only been chinned once in his career, and he's a very good fighter all around. There's not really any weaknesses I can point to for Yaroslav Amosov that I believe that Neil Magny can actually exploit. Because Yaroslav, although he's not got the most power, the most finishing ability, he's a winner. He knows how to win rounds, and a guy like that's not the one that gets finished by Neil Magny. And if his only loss is by TKO, it's not going to be Neil Magny that's going to knock you out on the feet. So I think it's a pretty comfortable win here for Yaroslav Amosov by a decision. Moving on, we've got Joanderson Brito versus Isaac Thompson. I wish I could pick Isaac Thompson. He's an Australian guy. I want to be the guy supporting him in his day one, but Joanderson Brito is going to viciously knock this guy out in a round, I believe. I think Joanderson Brito is just too good of a fighter to be able to lose to Isaac Thompson, a guy who's in his debut. And Isaac Thompson is not like he's really had that much like really good experience outside of the UFC. He's 9-2, and he's not got that many good wins. That's the thing about Isaac Thompson. He's still young, being 29 years old, but he's also lost to a guy called Shaheen Santa in a split decision, and then also got KO'd by Dorian Ramos when he was 2-0, and Dorian Ramos only really got up to 9-4. So I think that it's just not looking good here for Isaac Thompson. I don't see he's 23 years old. He's not 29. I read that wrong. But Isaac Thompson, I don't see him having the skills or the experience to be able to take out a Joanderson Brito, because although Brito's lost his last two, it's to Pat Sabatini and William Gomez, and then he had wins over like Jack Shaw, Weston Wilson. Oh my God. How could you even beat Weston Wilson? He's such a good prospect. And then he was able to round 1 KO Andre Fili, lost to Bill Algeo. But on the regional scene even, he's got a bunch of good wins. Like even on the Contender Series, he got a win over Diego Lopez. He got a win over Shepe Mariscal on the regional scene. Another one was, I think that's actually it. All of the good opponents that he fought on the regional scene. Oh, he fought a Wellington Prado, who's not too bad. I think Wellington Prado's probably got an all-right record now. Yeah, he's 14-4 in WFA. So Joanderson Brito's just got like a wealth of experience over Isaac Thompson, and I just don't think Isaac Thompson's got the minerals to be able to beat Joanderson in this one. Moving on, we've got Amanda Lemos versus Gillian Robertson. I'm going to go with Robertson by a decision. This is a bit of a 50-50 fight for me, because I think Amanda Lemos' counter-grappling has been getting better over the years, but I just don't see her being able to make the necessary changes at the grand old age of like 39 years old. And although Gillian Robertson maybe no spring chicken herself, I think that she's got like the game that's going upwards. I don't see her getting worse, and I see Amanda Lemos isn't getting worse, but she's not really getting any more dangerous, and that's what she needs to beat Gillian Robertson here. I think to beat Gillian Robertson here, she's going to have to fight like a Michael Morales versus Sean Brady matchup, and it's good because Sean Brady and Gillian Robertson have the same coaching staff. So, oh no, at least it's just Dean Thomas, but Amanda Lemos is going to have to come out there hot and fast and have to try and land some big shots over the top, trying to catch Gillian Robertson before she gets the grappling game going. But it just leads me to believe that if Tatiana Suarez is able to get you down in the grappling and beat you there, someone who's got no striking to set it up, I just don't see Gillian Robertson being able to having to go through 5-6 takedown attempts to get Lemos down. I think she's going to be able to get her down quite quickly. And I reckon she's going to be able to win a decision. Moving on, we've got Bobby Green versus Lance Gibson Jr. I genuinely refuse to call him King Green. I can't believe he changed his name to that ages ago. But with that out of sight, out of mind, I need to take that off the screen. But I'm going to go with Robert Green by TKO. I could randomly see him getting flatlined again here, but Lance Gibson Jr. is not that great of a prospect in his own right, and I don't see King Green fumbling the bag against someone who's not even in the UFC. Like, I even see some, like, lightweight prospects. Like, I could see Rong Zhu struggling with Bobby Green here. Like, there's a ton of guys who are still in the UFC that I would take to give for Bobby Green to give him a really tough fight. So if you're out of the UFC, you're 9-1 and your name's Lance Gibson, I don't really have too much faith in you. And he's Canadian. We know how Canadian prospects go in the UFC. We know that it's not usually the best look for them. He lost by round 1 TKO in Bellator literally like a year and a bit ago. And the thing is that you could hear him being in Bellator and think, damn, he was 5-1 in Bellator. He's so good. I've got his record up here. And the thing is that he was scheduled to fight Chris Avia at one point. Oh, different Chris Avia than the one that I was even thinking of. No, this is the right Chris Avia. But he was scheduled to fight him at one point. Chris Avia was in the UFC at one point. But even him pulled out against him. So it's like Lance Gibson Jr. has fought in the Bellator range for the last few years. But the best opponent he's fought beat him with a power jab. So I think King Green's got it done. I could see him finishing him again with another power jab like he did to Grant Dawson, but I don't see a world here where Lance Gibson Jr. is able to pull it out of the bag. Moving on here, we've got Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Marcus Buchecha. I'm going to go with Buchecha by submission, and it's because Kennedy's really dangerous on the feet, and Marcus Buchecha showed that on the feet. He's awful against Martin Buday last time out, but the thing that he did show that he's actually quite tough. A lot of these jiu-jitsu guys fold after a couple of punches. So for Buchecha to last the 3 rounds and really be trying to win, and it was a close fight between the two of them. So I think that he's going to be able to take a couple of shots from Kennedy in Nzechukwu. He can't do many. But the thing is that I can see him surviving a little bit on the feet with Nzechukwu. I can't see Nzechukwu surviving a minute on the ground with Buchecha. I think even though Buchecha showed some iffy moments against Martin Buday, I think Buday is a little bit more crafty than people give him credit for. He has a really nice sprawl and he's good in the grappling, Buday is. So for Buchecha to last the 3 rounds, not get demolished, and I think against a guy with a lot worse grappling in Kennedy Nzechukwu, I think he's going to have a field day and he's going to be able to get a rear naked choke submission. If Volter Walker is able to dominate you and submit you with a heel hook very quickly, I think that Buchecha is going to be able to do the same, because in that fight, Volter Walker barely threw a punch to set it up. So moving on, we've got Melky Zael Costa versus Morgan Charrier. Going with Melky Costa by a decision. And it's because I could see Morgan Charrier getting a finish here by like a TKO or something like that, because Melky is quite defensively non-sound on the feet, and Julian Erosa fight was way too close for my liking. But I could see Melky pulling off like some sort of grappling game here, being able to work in the clinch. He was able to do that against Julian Erosa. And I could see him just outdoing Morgan Charrier and just outworking him in different points of the fight, being able to win a decision there. Because Charrier does lose a lot of his decisions. I think he's had something like 16 and lost 11. So it's not looking good for him in that aspect of it. Moving on, we've got Cesar Almeida versus Cezary Oleksiejczuk. I'm going to go with Cesar Almeida. I know that a lot of people are picking Cezary to win this one. I just think he's a little bit inexperienced for Cesar Almeida. Cesar, although he's had some really stinky performances in the UFC, he's also made it close with guys like Roman Kopylov, although he was cheating the entire time to make it close. Was still able to do so. He was able to knock out Abdul Razak Al Hassan. He was able to cheat. No, it wasn't against Roman Kopylov that he cheated. It was against Ihor Peteria that he was cheating constantly. But against Kopylov, he did get out wrestled in moments, and that is where Cezary will be able to run a clinic here if he has one. He is the better grappler out of the two, and Cesar Almeida has been out-grappled by Roman Kopylov. He's not the best grappler. I just see the experience of Cesar Almeida taking over here, and I think he's going to be able to get I think he could get a knockout in this one against Cezary Oleksiejczuk, being a little bit too much too early. Moving on, though, we've got Giga Chikadze versus Kevin Vallejos. This is a really hard fight for me to predict, but I'm going to go with Kevin Vallejos. The reason why it's hard, I think he's the better puncher and he's better in the boxing range and he's a better grappler than Giga Chikadze, but not by much, I will say that. I just think that stylistically, it's a bad fight for both of them. Giga Chikadze struggles every time with boxers who is able to deal with his kicking range, but then Vallejos will struggle with the range and the kicks of Giga Chikadze. So it's like the double-edged sword here where Kevin Vallejos is so short. He's listed here at 5'7". I would say 5'6", 5'5". He is very little and compact. And Giga Chikadze is listed here at 6 foot, and he's going to tower over Kevin Vallejos here, and he's got a 2.5 leg inch reach advantage. So I think there's going to be moments early on in the fight where he's slamming leg kicks, he's slamming question mark kicks into the guard of Kevin Vallejos. But I think Vallejos is going to try and time some takedown. He's going to be able to land some shots over the top, maybe an overhand right every now and then. And I think that the boxing and the high guard of his is going to be able to keep him safe enough against Giga Chikadze, and he's going to be able to win a decision here. Moving on to the main event, though, I went the completely wrong way. We've got Brandon Royval versus Manel Kape. I'm going to go with Manel Kape by a decision. And it does worry me because Royval can high volume outstrike Manel Kape here, but I just don't think he can. I think Manel Kape is very clean, and I've been thinking for a while, I think he's the best striker in the flyweight division. That's going to be controversial, but even though a lot of his wins have the eye pokes with Asiel Mabeyev or the nut shot just before finishing Bruno Silva, Manel Kape fights do have a bit of iffiness to them, but you also see moments of absolute brilliance from him, and you don't see that as much from Royval. You see that in the scrambling, but not necessarily in the striking, and I think that that's where Manel Kape's going to be able to do some work on him. I will say about both guys, I think they're both counter-grapplers at heart. I don't think either of these guys are meant to be striker versus striker matchup guys. I think Manel Kape's got explosive takedown defense and really, really difficult to land shots on if you are a wrestler. And for Brandon Royval, he's like a spastic child who can't stop moving when you start grappling with him. So both of these guys are real counter-grapplers, but I think both of them aren't very well suited for striking-only matchups. And I just see here Manel Kape having the better striking-only style for that. I think that he's going to be able to counter on the head movement of Brandon. He's going to counter on the jab and the straight of Brandon Royval, which is constantly flicking out. Something that Joshua Van was able to do. But the difference between Van and Manel Kape is that I think Joshua Van has better volume in those moments, but Manel Kape has more sting on his shots in those moments. And I think that Manel's going to be able to dominate moments of this fight with his footwork and being able to keep his head on the outside, slip the jab, come over the top with the right hand. I can see all of these moments working for Manel Kape. I think that Brandon Royval, the reason why he beats guys like Tatsuro Taira or has a close fight with Alexandre Pantoja is because he's able to stay with them in the grappling. And then when they get back onto the feet, he's not giving them a moment to load in. Whereas Manel Kape, if you're not giving him a moment to load in, he doesn't really need it. He can throw his head off center line, throw some counter shots here and there. And for Brandon Royval, I think he's going to end up shooting for takedowns later on in the rounds. And I see Manel Kape just defending those really well or getting straight back up from them. And I think Brandon Royval's got the better cardio of the two, but I think it's going to be similar to that Joshua Van fight, where although I do believe Royval to have better cardio than Joshua Van, I just think that he's going to get stung so much that it's going to be so much damage wearing on him. So it's not really going to feel like he's got that cardio advantage over Manel Kape. And I think that Manel Kape's going to be able to stay clean and stay good during the fight. I don't think he's going to get tagged with too many shots. So I think it's a very good fight between the two of them where Manel Kape's going to win a 49-46 decision. I could even see a finish here just because the way that Brandon Royval was fighting against Joshua Van, it was almost like he was scared of what was coming back of Van. And if those counters are coming back as fast with Joshua Van, I think they're coming back faster from Manel Kape. So let me know what you think of this card in the comment section below. Who will win the main event in your opinion? Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. And as always, I'll catch you next time. Peace.